As the verdict on the president nears, eyes are on two extra impeachment trial hearings this week over how they will proceed with more key witnesses and whether the final one will be rescheduled as requested by Yoon's legal team. High-level talks between the U.S. and Russia will start this week in Saudi Arabia to discuss ending the war in Ukraine in the absence of Kyiv. Chief diplomats of South Korea, the U.S. and Japan have met in Munich to show their support for the complete denuclearization of North Korea as the Trump administration began its second term. It's February 17th, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial enters its final week with two additional hearings on Tuesday and Thursday, but his legal team has requested a rescheduling of Thursday's session as the president's criminal trial starts on the same day. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young has the latest.
The Constitutional Court has not decided whether or not to change the date of President Yoon Suk-yeol's 10th impeachment hearing, as it also falls on the day that his criminal trial proceedings begin. Court press officer Chun Jae-yeon told reporters Monday that the judicial bench has not yet conveyed its decision, and it may or may not be announced before the 9th hearing on Tuesday. After the court decided to schedule two additional trial dates for Tuesday and Thursday this week, Yoon's team has objected to Thursday's session and on Friday filed a request to postpone the date to February 25th. The president's lawyers have on various occasions complained about the twice-weekly hearings, calling for just one session per week to allow for sufficient preparation. Especially as the Seoul Central District Court will begin Yoon's pre-trial hearings for his criminal case on Thursday morning, Yoon's legal team would be spread out over both trials. 15 lawyers are working on his criminal case, 21 on his impeachment trial. Among them, 13 are working on both. While some experts say the overlapping schedule weakens the right to legal self-defense, the Constitutional Court might still push ahead with the impeachment hearing in the afternoon, as the criminal trial is at 10 a.m. The court officer added that the National Assembly's impeachment panel has submitted its position that the Thursday hearing must not be delayed. Meanwhile, she said Tuesday's hearing will see the Assembly and Yoon's side each organize and make their claims from 2 p.m. Thursday's hearing for now will have 3 witness examinations, beginning with Prime Minister Han Duck-soo. Han previously stated that the president had not held a proper cabinet meeting before declaring martial law on December 3rd. Former Deputy Director of the National Intelligence Service Hong Jang-won was summoned earlier this month by the National Assembly side, but will return to be questioned by Yoon's legal team. Hong claims there was a list of 14 to 16 figures the president wanted to arrest under martial law. National Police Agency Commissioner General Cho Ji-ho will be questioned by both sides after missing 2 witness sessions for health reasons. As the Constitutional Court has rejected all other witness applications, it remains to be seen whether the judicial bench will schedule additional hearings beyond the 10th session. It would take around 2 weeks for the justices to make a verdict based on previous presidential impeachment trials. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Seoul Central District Prosecutors Office will now take on the case, looking into President Yoon and First Lady Kim Geun-hye's alleged interfering in an election through political broker Myung Tae-gyun. On Monday, Changwon City District Office said the case and the team had been transferred to Seoul as many relevant figures reside in the capital. This, however, could be a move by prosecutors to show their efforts in investigating the case amid opposition parties' push for a special probe bill for the case, as they cite prosecutors' lack of apparent motivation. Last year, a phone call between Yoon and Myung surfaced, where they discussed the candidacy of a then upcoming by-election, which would be illegal. Also, other allegations involving the first couple and Myung are included in the investigations, such as misuse of political funds. Meanwhile, following the shocking murder of an elementary school student by a teacher in Daejeon last week, authorities are hammering out new measures to prevent similar incidents in the future and better protect children within school grounds. The members of the ruling People Power Party and the government following talks at the National Assembly on Monday, announced they are dispatching a special team to conduct inspections and strengthen safety at schools nationwide before the new school year starts in spring. Furthermore, they will work on legislative action to establish legal foundations that will immediately separate students from teachers who pose a threat to student safety due to mental illnesses or other conditions. They will also work to expand mental health support for faculty members. The Chinese AI app DeepSeek, accused of excessive data collection, has been temporarily suspended in South Korea as regulators push for stronger privacy protections. Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
DeepSeek, the Chinese artificial intelligence startup facing controversy over excessive data collection, has temporarily suspended its services in South Korea. On Monday, the Personal Information Protection Commission announced that DeepSeek was suspended as of 6 p.m. on Saturday, and services will resume once modifications are made in line with South Korea's Personal Information Protection Act. This means that no new users can download the app across any domestic app market such as Apple's App Store and Google Play, but existing users can continue to use it for the time being. The data privacy regulator urged caution when using the application and stated that it is considering further measures to protect existing users. The suspension comes after DeepSeek accepted the PIPC's recommendation to halt services while corrective measures are being implemented. Last month, the Commission sent an official inquiry to the firm's headquarters, seeking clarification on concerns about data collection and processing methods. An initial review by the PIPC confirmed some of the concerns raised by local and international media, including insufficient disclosure of third-party data sharing and the excessive collection of personal information. The PIPC plans to conduct a thorough review of DeepSeek's handling practices during the suspension period. Legislative efforts are also underway to amend the Personal Information Protection Act to reflect AI innovation, strengthening enforcement measures for foreign service providers. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
A senior U.S. delegation is meeting with its Russian counterpart in Saudi Arabia for talks about ending the Kremlin's aggression against Kyiv. The meeting also seeks to lay the groundwork for a summit between Trump and Putin. Shin Ha-young tells us more.
Trump administration officials are preparing to meet with Russian officials in Saudi Arabia to start talks aimed at ending the war in Ukraine. That's according to the U.S. Middle East envoy talking to Fox News on Sunday.
I am going tonight. I'll be traveling there with the National Security Advisor, and we'll be having meetings at the direction of the president, and hopefully we'll make some really good progress with regard to Russia, Ukraine.
According to CNN, the talks are set to begin on Tuesday. However, speaking to NBC News on the same day, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Kyiv had not been invited to the talks in Saudi Arabia, adding that Ukraine would never accept any deals made without them. Regarding Ukraine's absence from the talks, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told CBS News on Sunday that if real negotiations happen, Ukraine must be involved and that Europe must also be involved. Amid European concern that the U.S. is moving ahead on talks with Russia without consultation, French President Emmanuel Macron has called leaders from key EU nations and the UK for an emergency security meeting on Monday. One expert pointed out that while Ukraine and Europe could be involved later, if the talks proceed under the current structure, the impact on both Ukraine and Europe will be significant.
From Europe's perspective, if the war ends with a Russian victory, expanding its territory toward Europe, it could face serious security threats and may strengthen its own military defenses. Ukraine could lose territory without any security guarantees, but there may still be room for negotiation, especially considering discussions around Ukraine's rare earth minerals and other factors.
U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters on Sunday that he is working hard to bring peace between Russia and Ukraine and that he believes the leaders of both countries want to stop fighting. To a question asking about Ukraine's involvement in talks, he answered that Zelensky would be involved in the negotiations. Trump also hinted that a meeting with Putin in Saudi Arabia could happen soon, but no date has been set. 신하영, Arirang News.
In Germany this past weekend, chief diplomats of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan reaffirmed their resolve to rid the Korean peninsula of nuclear weapons, laying to rest fears of a potential shift in American policy on North Korea's nuclear ambitions. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Yoon-ji covers this commitment and the trilateral support for Taiwan.
South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol and his American and Japanese counterparts Marco Rubio and Takeshi Iwaya met for the first time since U.S. President Donald Trump returned to the White House earlier this year and delivered a strong message that appears to be aimed at China. In a joint statement, they expressed their support for Taiwan's meaningful participation in appropriate international organizations. That detail, which could upset China, has never been included in a joint statement by the three countries before. This appears to reflect the Trump administration's hardline stance towards China, as Beijing has been making efforts to block Taiwan from joining the United Nations and many other global organizations. At a session of the Munich Security Conference, Foreign Minister Cho said it's only natural for South Korea to keep relations with both the U.S. and China in harmony to best serve its national interests, but added that this is easier said than done.
We can continue to improve our relations with Beijing while continue to upgrading our strong alliance with Washington. But particularly when it comes to the security issues, there's a limit to what we can do to accommodate demands from Beijing.
The three countries also made it clear in the joint statement that they reaffirmed their commitment to the complete denuclearization of North Korea. This gave reassurance to Seoul, particularly after Trump's comments referring to the North as a nuclear power raised concerns in South Korea, as they led to speculation that Washington could be shifting away from its focus on denuclearizing North Korea. And before the trilateral talks, Cho and Rubio held a separate meeting for about 40 minutes, where they agreed to closely cooperate on deterring North Korean threats. The two sides also reaffirmed that their alliance will continue to remain strong throughout Trump's second term in office, with Rubio reiterating his confidence in South Korea's acting president. Speaking to reporters in Munich, Cho said he expects the two countries to hold more high-level meetings, and that the government plans to consult with Washington on the issue of tariffs on steel and aluminum as soon as possible, to minimize possible damage to Korean companies. Bae Yoon-ji, Arirang News.
In a recent post on his social media platform, U.S. President Donald Trump sought to defend his reciprocal tariff proposal and dispute the so-called value-added taxes, claiming that America has been mistreated by its friends and foes alike. Lee Soo-jin covers his latest remarks.
U.S. President Donald Trump's plans to impose new tariffs on countries that utilize value-added tax systems have added another layer of uncertainty to South Korea's export competitiveness. Trump said Saturday that Washington will treat countries with a value-added tax system the same as those with tariffs in order to help calculate reciprocal duties on other countries. The comment raises concerns for South Korea, which, unlike the U.S., collects value-added tax. Typically, companies in countries with a VAT system, including South Korea, receive a VAT refund when exporting to the U.S. and only have to pay a relatively low sales tax. However, U.S. companies exporting to foreign countries have to pay a high VAT rate that they do not pay in the U.S. And for that reason, Trump has criticized VAT as being an unfair trade barrier for the U.S.
They do have something that is somewhat similar, which is the sales tax. Effectively, the U.S. sales tax can be considered something that is very similar, at least in the results.
And since South Korea's VAT rate is 10% higher than the average U.S. sales tax of 6.6% as of 2023, is fueling speculation that Trump will impose a 10% reciprocal tariff on all South Korean imports in April. Amid concerns over Trump's trade policies, Deputy Minister for Trade Park Jo-won left for the United States on Monday. During the 5-day visit, Park will meet with high-ranking officials from the U.S. Department of Commerce and the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative to discuss trade and other pending issues. This will be the first official visit to Washington by a high-ranking trade official since President Trump took office. Park is expected to hear the specifics of the trade policies under the Trump administration and convey Seoul's position on the matter. These discussions are particularly important because it will be challenging for the Korean government to devise response measures as VAT is applied based on the value added at each stage of production.
In the end, it is the consumers which pay the value-added tax. And right now, except for foodstuff, which is exempted, it's 10%. So we'll have to figure out some way to eliminate the import component of that 10%, and that could be difficult.
The same expert also added that another factor that makes this situation complex is how a large portion of the tax revenue for many nations, not just Korea, relies on VAT. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
It's Monday, so it's time to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. For that, we have our sports editor, Paul Neat, joining us here in the studio. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Let's begin with football. It looks like Barcelona are coming to Korea this summer.
Yes, according to Yonhap News today, Barcelona will play 2 friendly matches here in August. The promoter, D-Drive, is quoted by Yonhap as saying that a contract was signed with Barcelona in November last year and the schedule has been confirmed. But one of the clubs mentioned was FC Seoul, and a club official told Yonhap that this is not confirmed yet. Barcelona last came to South Korea in 2010, facing a K-League All-Star team and winning 5-2. Before that, in 2004, Barca lost 1-0 to Suwon Blue Wings.
Speaking of K-League, the new season began on Saturday.
Yes, and with some surprising results, and perhaps the most surprising of all was FC Anyang, new to K-League 1, beating the champions Ulsan HD 1-0 thanks to a late goal from Bruno Motta, a historic occasion for Anyang, who were playing their first ever match in the First Division. Elsewhere, all the teams that finished in the bottom half last season picked up wins on opening weekend. Daejeon Hana Citizen beat Pohang Steelers 3-0, with former Ulsan striker Joo Min-kyu scoring a late brace. A moment's silence was observed beforehand for the young Daejeon fan Kim Han-ul, who was tragically murdered last week, and fans stopped their supporting in the 8th minute for 2 minutes. The players also wore black armbands and dedicated the first goal to her. Elsewhere over the weekend, Daegu FC beat Gangwon FC 2-1 thanks to a late winner from Sezinia. Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors beat Gimcheon Sangmu 2-1 and Jeju SK beat FC Seoul 2-0.
And sticking with football, Son Heung-min played his part in Tottenham's win over Manchester United.
Yes, it was his initial pass that led to James Maddison scoring the winning goal. In Tottenham's 1-0 win over Manchester United on Sunday, Son played the ball into the box for Lucas Bergvall to shoot. His effort was saved, but the rebound was tucked away by James Maddison. Not an assist as such, but Son played a key role. It also helped Spurs earn back-to-back league wins for the first time since September. Spurs move up to 12th place in the table, 13 points clear of the relegation zone.
And finally, to short track speed skating. We've just had the Asian Games, but it's straight onto the next event.
Yes, the ISU World Tour in Milan, where on Sunday, Jang Sung-woo won bronze. Jang finished third in the 1,000 meters to leave Milan as the only South Korean medalist. According to Yonhap News, South Korea's skating team landed back in Korea on Monday and then headed to Italy the following day. By sending their skaters to Milan, the aim was to help give them a chance to get used to the Milano ice skating rink, where events will be held in the 2026 Winter Olympics. Up next, though, is the World Championships in Beijing from March 14th to the 16th.
Thank you for the roundup. I'll see you next week.
Thank you. See you.
On this segment of the interview, we turn the spotlight onto a rising speed skater star who won a remarkable number of medals at the latest Asian Winter Games in the Chinese city of Harbin. Our Park Go-nu sat down with her.
2 gold medals, 1 silver, and 1 bronze. South Korean speed skater Lee Na-hyun's achievements at the 2025 Asian Winter Games. Skating since the age of 8, Lee recalls how she began realizing her talent as a young child.
That I won gold medals in most of the races when I first started, so I was very into this sport since I was very young, and I think I enjoyed every moment.
That's how things continued. Last year, Lee broke the junior world record in the 500 meters and then went on to win medals in every race at the Asian Games this year. Although Lee humbly said it feels like she has just taken her first step in her career, she is hungry for more medals.
I would love to win so many races as possible. I'll try to get 100. But I think, honestly, like 10 to 15 is, like my goal right now. Yeah.
Showing her humility, she even says she first needs to improve her skills.
My goal is just to keep showing people that I improved in every races, and also to show them a good conditions in the Olympics. I would love to get a medal, but first my goal is to do all the things that I practice in training.
This mindset ties into her personal life motto.
I always tell myself, let's not make this regrettable. Let's show everything I've got. Keep training hard until your role model become your rival.
Called the next Lee Sang-hwa, Lee spoke with admiration for her role model.
I love that nickname and I feel honored, and it makes me feel like I have to do more harder. If I meet her, I would say, I'm a fan of you and I want to be like you, so please watch how I do.
Looking ahead, Lee plans to skate for at least another decade, leaving a message to her future self.
10 years later, I would tell myself to just enjoy skating, like no need to get a medal, just keep pushing myself hard. I just do it, as you can always quit.
She also expressed her desire to remain the first athlete that comes to mind when thinking of speed skating, while requesting more support for both the sport and herself. Park Go-nu, Arirang News.
Even though spring-like conditions were warming up the country last week, the cold has made a return. In Seoul today, the daytime temperature dropped by 7 degrees Celsius in one day. In addition, cold wave advisories have been issued in eastern parts of Gangwon-do province and Gyeongsang-buk-do province. It will get colder tomorrow with the morning temperature in Seoul plunging to -5 degrees Celsius. On Tuesday and Wednesday, it will drop even further to -7 degrees. The feels-like temperature will stay around -10 degrees. The weather will get colder with stronger cold waves this whole week. Please dress extra warm. Tomorrow, the whole country will start off at below 0 degrees, with Gwangju at -4 degrees and Busan at -3. Daily highs will move up to 3 degrees in Chuncheon, 5 degrees in Daegu. With strong winds blowing, East Coast areas are drying out for the time being. Extra precautions are necessary to avoid any accidents. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.